Hello, this is ICAN on Air program, a gift from the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria to our public to elevate and share professional knowledge for empowerment of all people. On the offering today is technology trends, impact on global accountancy. Of course, accountants have always exploited emerging technologies to help them to complete their tasks more accurately, quickly, and simply. From the incised clay tablets of the Sumerian scribes through the idle machines of the 19th century to the calculators and computers of the 20th century. But all these technology development were simple propositions by comparison with the myriad of technologies that are now rapidly reshaping the world of business and accountancy. Joining me in a question and answer, getting to throw more insight, give more details on this very important subject is Lawrence Amadi Esquire, FCA. Lawrence Amadi is partner within the advisory division of the KPFG Lagos office and currently heads the Technology Assurance Service Network. He recently took over the leadership of CFO advisory at KPMG and has also recently acquired the Chartered Institute of Management Accountancy IMA qualifications, talking about the ACMA and CGMA. More to unveil on our esteemed guest shortly. Also on this program, a few tidbits on the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, who we are, our membership, and a few things that we have in our calendar. And of course, I'd like you to pay attention to the advert information that is going to come around your screen on how we can help you take your goods and your services by way of adverts to the vast cronies of this world. Please stay connected. We shall be back with you shortly. You are welcome back. And please join me to welcome Mr. Lawrence Amadi, FCA, onto ICAN on Air. You are most welcome, Mr. Amadi.
Thank you very much, sir, and good to see you.
Always good to see you, Mr. Amadi. And this very techy subject, looking at technology trends, impact on global accountancy, and to frame, frame what our flow of discussion could be today. Is one word that has kept on recurring. So it's data analytics, data analytics, data analytics. So to frame it for us, I'd like you to appraise us briefly on broad steps to follow on how to develop data analytics as a competency within an accounting firm.
Thank you very much, sir. And I think it's a good question, starting from the basics. How do you frame this? My simple response would be, it should be objective driven. What are we trying to achieve? Data analytics, simply put, is the process of mining data, analyzing data with the objective of bringing out some specific or achieving some specific objectives from that exercise. Now, the objective could be you want to test for accuracy of what a system has done. That's one objective. You want to test for completeness of what a system has done. That is an objective. But more importantly, how does an organization get there? When you set those objectives, the next thing you do is to then say to yourself, how do I simply create the journey? Where do we start from? We start from the basic steps. Understand the data set. Understanding that data set is a fundamental step to take to achieving the outcome you're looking for in the data analytics exercise or effort. When you understand the objective, you then are able to lay out and say to yourselves, how do I plug in this raw data into an analytical tool to make sense? Now, analytical tool could be Excel, could be ACL, could be IDEA. Those then help you to crunch that data to achieve the accuracy objective, validity objective, or completeness objective. And I'll leave it there for now.
Excellent. Thanks for framing it that way. That's from the accounting or the accountancy firms. We are professionals. But I like to do this follow-up. Is data analytics useful in the client organization itself so that management can use it in tackling some decisions?
Again, a great follow-up question. Absolutely, absolutely necessary and important, because every single business today can thrive on data. Like they say, data is the new oil. In fact, some other people say data is the new oxygen. Because if you want to succeed in today's business, the insight from data is what makes you win. So every client, both our audit clients, our advisory clients, our tax clients, all of them need data to be able to make sense out of their business, to be able to chart the way forward for their business, and to help you as an auditor make sense of the audit exercise that you're performing. And I'll summarize it this way. If you go to a client and you want to perform analytics, either on interest income or interest expense or fees and commission, that data has to be stored in a way that you're able to perform that exercise in a very, very objective and speedy manner. Okay, so that's why our clients need to also put data together.
Super. Thanks for that. Now, but how are we to develop process design and documentation as competency in assessing the internal control system of an organization?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. And I think if I got it right, how do we assess the process design and documentation of, as a competency?
Yes.
Today, there's a big conversation around processes being so crucial to every organization. Process proficiency is now the new order of day. And every organization who does not define processes that lay out how the organization should run, both finance, procurement, supply chain, marketing, you name it. If we don't have those processes, also handshaking in a proper way, you could have major breakdown in the organization. So this is why it's important to then say to ourselves that every functional lead, needs to understand what their SOP is. What is SOP? Standard operating procedures. That is what processes helps us to achieve as an organization. And that's why it should be a part of the DNA, that you have clear flow charts between units, within units, and between organization and outside the organization.
Excellent, thank you. And how do you go about developing robotic process automation? I think RPA they call it. That roadmap for a company.
Okay, so I like how you then have moved from process to robotics process automation.
Right.
So, traditionally, we have done business, using paper and also just capturing things, manually. But with time, that has changed. We are now seeing instances where our clients are deploying desktop robotics process automation. I call it desktop because it is now embedded in a system or a solution to start driving some things without you necessarily having to fill it out. I'll give you an example. Leave process. You want to go on leave. You would normally go and print something on paper and take it to somebody to sign off. The person signs off, maybe your immediate boss, and then the next person that signs off is head of HR. Today, we have seen solutions where that leave process is built and designed on an ERP, where all you do is go on the system, capture the details of your leave, automatically you push it out, it automatically goes to somebody, workflow. It goes to the head of department or your head of unit, they approve, and then it goes to head of HR, they approve. What those guys have done that have built those systems, they have automated robotics process automation to run on an ERP HR system. But for a client who wants to go on that journey, that client needs to think about three things. First, how do I build a simple robotics process automation? Second, what technology do I use to build it? Third, how do I train people to use it? Those three fundamental steps.
Excellent point.
Yes,
excellent point. And now, is the RPA useful to external auditors?
Great point. Is it useful to us? I would first of all start by saying, if we look at the areas being disrupted by technology today, medicine is being disrupted, legal is being disrupted, accountancy is being disrupted. So is it useful to the external auditor? The answer is an absolute yes. Now, in Nigeria, we may not be catching on as quickly as we should, but when you go overseas, you would increasingly see that the adoption has increased tremendously. So you're finding more and more companies embracing robotics process automation to improve what they do, either in the vouching process, either in the testing process, either in the evidence gathering process. The external auditor now needs to start thinking about how to adopt this technology to drive more efficiency in the audit cycle.
Awesome point. And in what ways is artificial intelligence, the almighty AI, in what ways is AI impacting the works of accounting firms in Nigeria?
It is impacting it already. I must be honest and I must say this. I have seen some clients today who are leveraging AI for conducting site audits. Today, we have companies who leverage radio equipment. Those radio equipment are scattered across the metropolitan area. To conduct an audit of those metropolitan radio equipment, sometimes it's not all, everybody that have the facility to have you climbing the ladder, going up to the rooftop to check what's going on up there. They fly drones to go and check what's going on. Drones are also built to have AI capability in them, because when those drone devices fly out there, leveraging drone technology, we can check on these devices, check on the fault, check on the cooling, check on the standing position, check so many things. And as it's checking those things, it is relaying data back to the person who is controlling the drone console. That is one example. There are so many other examples. There are examples within the warehouses where you have proper technology monitoring how you refill devices, how you're recycling devices, and how you're also, churning out items on the production line. So these are all examples where, AI is beginning to infiltrate and impact what we do a lot more today.
Thank you very much for those insights. But are there ways to monitor or assess or audit the activities of robots in a factory, like in the warehouse that you just mentioned, to ascertain that they follow established protocols in executing the assigned tasks?
Thank you. And another great follow-on question. The answer is an absolute yes. So when you have built a robotics process automation, either a desktop one or a life-size robotics, there's a controller, there's a monitor somewhere. So you could create 3 or 4 or 5 or 100 or 1,000 robots on a factory floor. You have a controller console that tells you how these robots are behaving. You have a controller console that tells you which robot is low on battery, that needs to be topped up on battery or replaced with battery, which robot is out of line or within line as they do this stuff. Let me give you another example. Tesla as a self-driving car. You can monitor the performance of some cars, selected cars, that do self-driving pickup and drop-off. Just by saying, how are the batteries looking? Remotely, you can tell. How's the temperature in the car? You can tell remotely. So with the help of a remote console, you can monitor what's going on and you can address what's going on, because there will be an alarm or a trigger that tells you battery running low, temperature getting high, or robot on the factory floor out of line, simply. And then it helps you to address, and put things back into shape and how they should be.
Excellent. Fine point. And if you are just joining in, our audience, I have been fielding questions to Mr. Lawrence Amadi, FCA. We've been looking at technology trends, impact on global accountancy. How have we moved? Please keep your questions coming in as we try and extract the most by way of explanation from subject experts. Luther Agboli is asking this question: can the drone detect fake or empty boxes in the warehouse? Looking at inventory management.
Absolutely, Luther. Thank you for your question. So when you've built logic into robots, there are a lot of things that happens also around weight and mass and the likes. I don't know if you have seen a video on YouTube where somebody is delivering Indomie to a customer. The Indomie delivering drone also brings out a POS for you to pay. And that was sampled in Lekki here. The person lives on the first floor. So they tested it so that they see that the drone doesn't drop the Indomie carton in front of your house on the ground floor. The drone brings the Indomie carton to the first floor, to your corridor. It drops it there. It comes to you, has a sensor to say, delivered. And then you, as a acceptor of that product, it also gives you the POS to say, please make payment. That drone technology is built to have the weight and mass intelligence to it. If an Indomie carton is light, the noodles are not inside, or it is less than 2.5 kg, it's weighing 2 kg or something, that drone is designed to flag that issue and tell the console controller the weight is inadequate or the weight is incomplete. Meaning some noodles sachet may have been taken out of that carton. Essentially, so, just to respond to your question, the intelligence in the production floor is also very similar. When you configure drones to either, recap or fill or position, containers, You will build into the logic direction, weight and mass, and event or activity. And if something is off, that robot should be able to flag it. And what should it do? It pushes that device out of line. It shouldn't put it on queue to continue in the production line. It pushes that device out of line.
Excellent. Great point. Wanting you to spend a little bit more time to help us by explaining how to complete a data protection risk assessment study for a client.
Okay, so I mean, you know, as we talk about drones, AI, and robotics, and they will now say, look, as all of this conversation is happening, data is being created. Now that data that's been created, you know, you need to protect it because it's private data and it's proprietary data for your organization. You don't want that data to get into the hands of competition. You don't want that data to get into the hands of a hacker or, you know, or a cyber criminal. So what should you do? You have to then have a program that helps you protect that data. In protecting that data, you start with, first of all, a proper governance framework. You need to create a data governance framework that defines data categories. What is the critical data? What is the sensitive data? You know, what is a highly critical data? What is the vital data? When you create those layers, you also have to create who should have access to these varying types of data. For instance, the strategy of a company, who should have access to it? Everybody? Does the gateman need it? Does the receptionist need the strategy data? Maybe not. So you have to then define who has access. You then map access based on who needs to know and who needs to have or who needs to access. That's the beginning. When you do that, you then get to the implementation portion to say, if we map this thing, or if we have successfully mapped this thing, can we then test it to see that it's working? Who can then ultimately access this data? If you do the actual test and you find that there's a breach or there's a, you know, something is not working as intended, reiterate until you ensure that everybody accessing certain data in the organization are limited to the access they should have. I give another quick example. If you are in procurement, you have access to a lot of suppliers' master data. That whole information, those who are in IT or those who are in engineering, they don't need that information. So when you put that data on your shared drive or your portal, that shared portal for supply chain or for procurement needs to be restricted entirely for those in supply chain, not anybody else outside. It has to be restricted. So when you do that restriction, test it, be sure that it is actually restricted in reality. And you then have to constantly see that, you know, you are constantly protecting that information or that data. I can see Omolara's question on screen, but I'll allow you guide.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Molara Fagbure. How effective are the provisions of GDPR and NDPR in Nigeria? And also, how safe are electronic signature apps, okay, like DocSign?
DocuSign, okay. Thank you very much, Omolara. So let me take the first part of your question. How effective are the provisions of GDPR and NDPR? For GDPR, I can definitely say the General Data Protection Regulation rolled out in Europe, you know, I think is effective, a provision. I don't know if you are aware, there was a leak on British Airways some time ago, and that resulted in some, resulted in major fines and penalties, you know, for them. And if other organizations have had those leaks and they've had penalties, Nigeria is getting there. Remember, we rolled out our NDPR in 2019. It's still getting mature by the day. And every organization is seeing the need to have a data protection compliance officer, to have a data protection officer, to have a proper data privacy governance framework. So they are building up on it gradually. Is it as effective as we have it in Europe? Maybe not yet, because we've not seen any fines and penalties being paid as yet. But are we going to get there? certainly, because I know NITDA is working very hard to seeing that every employee customer information and data is treated with the due care and skill and caution that it deserves. Second part of the question, how safe are apps like DocuSign, VeriSign, and the likes? Those apps, they have invested a lot of time to building them and developing them. And they are very proprietary tools that help you safeguard a document that you're trying to send to somebody else, either to help them to sign it, just like we have on Acrobat Reader, where you can sign a document electronically and it timestamps that document. Nobody can alter it. Those guys have also created something similar to say that there's non-repudiation when you sign a document. So for the most part, we haven't seen any breaches per se. So we can say for now, those things seem to be working as intended. But, again, never rule out the possibility of cyber criminals coming up with things that will help you edit these things, which shouldn't be the case. So for now, I think people use them and we haven't seen much breaches to date.
Excellent. Excellent answer. Thanks very much for those insightful questions, Mrs. Molara Fagbure. Again, if you just joined, we are examining technology trends and the impact on global accountancy. Please keep your questions coming. And there is something I am going to want to ask you after we come back on break, and that is from your experience of leading audits in around the computers in West Africa, Central Africa, and Southern Africa. I wanted to just do a bit of a gauge and tell us in your assessment, how is Nigeria ranking? We'll come back to that after we come back from break. Please stay put, don't go away. You are welcome. You are welcome back. And before we went on break, asking Mr. Amadi from his experience of leading audit consulting in three of the top regions, Southern Africa, Central Africa, and of course West Africa. What his experience has been and how is Nigeria situated in this technology trend? How will you rank us?
Okay, it's a very interesting question and a really good question if you ask me. I'll have some bias because I'm Nigerian as I look at that question and as I think about it and reflect on it. But if I wear my unbiased hat to the question, looking at the advancements we've seen in North Africa, and remember, North Africans, they like to associate a lot with the rest of the Arab world. So they associate a lot there, and I think it rubs off on them. So if you look at Egypt, Tunisia, Algeria, you see a lot of advancements, because they closely and knit with the Saudis and the Emirates in UAE. So there's a lot of advancements in North Africa. Sometimes it might be a bit limited because education is still very segmented for the male gender for the most part. If you go to Southern Africa, South Africa stands out a lot in the Southern Africa region because Southern Africa would have Mozambique, Swaziland, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Zambia, and the likes. South Africa is a leader in there. And if I look at the South Africa market, quite advanced, very advanced market. It feels like Europe, very contemporary, when you look at the Africa continent, and it's super advanced. When you come to West Africa and East Africa, I would tie in what I call how the fintechs are breaking through to also compare, these markets. So if I look at East, West, North, and South, Nigeria or West Africa seem to be producing maybe the highest number of fintechs, and it's shocking. I mean, in Nigeria today, we have over 300 fintechs and counting, and they're all creating newer, innovative solutions to either disrupt credit, to disrupt analytics, to disrupt savings. Nigeria has the highest number of fintechs being developed on the continent. So it's a big plus for us. We may not be scaling the way we want to scale so far, but I would say a lot of Nigerians are very digitally savvy. I know companies today based in Lagos, Andela is an example, where people sit here in Lagos and they provide IT support to Fortune 100 companies in New York, in London, in Singapore, just name it. And they're doing that work from Lagos. So I think there's a very big base of people who are building the tech skills. We will arrive when we can scale this a lot more. Because if you remember also some 5 or 6 years ago, Mark Zuckerberg came to Nigeria. He came to Nigeria because of the wealth of talent, IT talent that he saw. And that's a big attraction. If you go to East Africa, Kenya, you probably see they have about 53 to 60 plus fintechs, not quite as close as Nigeria's, over 300 plus. So that tells you that we have way more hungrier youth that are technologically savvy, building these new companies, building this new competency, and making a huge change, both in the crypto area, in the AI area, in the blockchain area, just name it.
Fantastic point, and thank you very much, Mr. Lawrence Amadi, for that insight. As a matter of fact, just reminded me our last accountancy conference that we held, and I remember the president of the institute, Mrs. Eitayo. He kept on laying it, technology, technology, technology. And from what you have said now, might be on a winning edge. Hopefully, the policy makers are listening, and that we have a lot to export. And I now quickly join our past president, Alhaji Razak Jayeola, who is giving you thanks on our behalf. I enjoy your presentation at a board session last time, and you have been fantastic today as well. Kindly explain the use of blockchain in internal audit, and also advise our members on what skills to acquire to cope with these technology trends.
Thank you so much, Alhaji Razak, for that question. That's my Oga at the top. So my 2 hands are up, and I'm saying hello. And Happy New Year once again. So first part of the question, the use of blockchain in internal audit. It is still evolving. Blockchain technology in itself, it's a technology that is supposed to help us remove any trust issues between two parties that are contracting, which is why the biggest component for blockchain is non-repudiation. So if you create a platform where people can trade their cryptocurrency, what you sell and what you buy, value should be matching at all times. That's blockchain essentially. So it's there to help us ensure that there's no breach of trust. And again, that's why they call it, digital ledger services. If you create a digital ledger, debit and credits should balance at all times. So you shouldn't have single entry. So once there's value, value should be exchanged, and value can be commodity. It can be commodity and dollar, or commodity and some price, or two commodities exchanging. But whatever happens, value should be traded off and it should be standard. Now, when we relate that to internal audit, not so many use cases have been found or developed as yet for blockchain. There's been more breakthrough leveraging drone. There's been more breakthrough leveraging some AI capabilities, because we've seen instances where you run a data analytics solution that recalculates interest income on loans or interest income on overdrafts, and it does it automatically, where you click a button that triggers, and automatically, what I called earlier, desktop RPA, something goes on the system to either activate IDEA or ACL or Alteryx or ClickView. It goes to a particular location on your system. It picks data. That data might be transaction history file. It also picks the rate history file. It picks the customer balance file. It picks those key features. It runs all the analysis, brings out the results, runs the comparison between the management account or the trial balance, brings out a difference, and gives a table at the end, and even sends an email of that table to the person that triggered it to say, activity, desktop RPA activity completed. Interest on OD per our IDEA recalculation analytics engine, X amount. Interest on OD per trial balance, Y amount. Difference, Z. Difference could be you then start figuring out, were there manual adjustments that caused the differences? Did we miss out a concessionary rate that made the number to be different? So many reasons could be responsible. Those are some of the breakthroughs we are seeing, leveraging RPA and to some extent AI and cognitive in internal audits. But for blockchain, a lot hasn't been achieved there, because blockchain in itself is designed to fall apart if anybody alters anything. If you get what I mean. On a blockchain transaction, if you alter anything, then it should just cancel any correspondence, because it is designed for non-repudiation. So if you sell anything, the same value should be exchanged, vice versa. But Alaji, thanks for the question. Second part of your question, what should our members do to improve on their digital skills and to pick up their data analytics skills? I would say, first of all, we start small and we start simply. We can register for Udemy, and there are so many other free platforms where you can just go and learn some basic stuff. Udemy is Udemy. Udemy. You can register for Udemy and it's a free platform where you can go and learn some free basic data analytics fundamentals. They have basic Python programming on there. They have some basic, Power BI capabilities sessions on there. You can build on those things gradually, and then you can scale over time. So that's the second part of the question.
Thank you very much. And I think Rumaya Saeed would have gleaned from what you have said. Maybe for our students, says, what course will you advise the professional accountants to take that will help to make us relevant in the technological advancement?
So I think in addition to Udemy, Rumesa, if I got that correctly, Rumesa, I would say also you can start with CISA. CISA is Certified Information Systems Auditor, CISA. CISA helps you to pick up fundamentals of IS audit. Every accountant will benefit if they go the CISA route and pick up some basic things, concerning CISA. And, I must say, when Alaji asked the question, AJ Silicon is one of the places where you can go for training. to pick up CISA. That's where we at KPMG send our people for training every year to write CISA and prepare for CISA and write and pass the exams. So it's one place to look at in addition to Udemy. And if you want to just go easy, you can go on YouTube. Go to YouTube. There are, millions of videos on YouTube that would tell you fundamentals of technology, and it will give you a lot of insights. Today knowledge is so free now. The knowledge capital has been democratized. So Rumesa, you have no worry at all. We have free resources everywhere online today.
Fantastic point. So Udemy, Python, Power BI, all waiting for you to go explore. Now, Mr. Amadi, please provide us with insights on how to regularly update the register of all software applications that store and process financial and sensitive data in an organization.
So very good question. And I think I like how we have moved from the robotics, the data, and then now, the storage or the archiving of the software solutions in-house. It's important. There's something we call version control. Versioning or version control is so important. If you don't manage versions, you can be churning out wrong financial statements because you have messed up with the chart of accounts, or you have messed with some things that should be working in a particular way. So what should you do? You have to ensure that when you roll out a new software release and you do the testing, once you do the testing and you do the sign off for that testing, you have to take a view and ensure that systems control successfully migrate the latest version into the production environment. Once you've done that and you confirm from the end user that the right version of report is coming out, you lock it. Nobody should go and alter or change anything. Now, as you do that, the last versions, you have to store it or push it aside and ensure that nothing gets in the way going forward. And this would happen for so many modules and so many systems we have in-house. Because take the average organization, the average bank would have about 60 or more software solutions in there. These 60 or more solutions, we have to carefully ensure that the enterprise architecture environment carefully is segmented and is carefully managed. If something is added or removed, you're also carefully managing what is commissioned or what is decommissioned. And your enterprise architect, who has responsibility for making sure that this happens successfully, you also ensure that you have an internal control function that checks on the adequacy of performing this task. That way, you can protect the versions of the software you have out, and you can also keep a decent inventory of what you have rolled out or decommissioned.
Awesome. Mr. Lawrence Amadi, you've done great job. And I'm getting some feelers from our online participants. They're enjoying and assimilating the answers you are given. You're on point. Now, I have something from Lucky Dauda. We in the northern part of the country, Nigeria, is there any place? Oh, okay. They are in the northern part of the country in Nigeria. Is there any place they can acquire digital data analyst skill in the northern part of the country?
So Lucky, thanks for your question. I would say, like I responded earlier, if you consider the online version for starters, it's one option, because online you will get a lot of resources to refresh and build on that knowledge. I've also seen people who do training in Abuja, in Kano. I know one of the advanced Excel data analytics Power BI training companies. I think it's called D Brown Consulting, and they go everywhere. So if you want them to come to the north, they can come to the north to run a training for you. Again, you can reach them if you go online and look for D Brown Consulting. You can see their details. They're in Abuja, they're in Lagos. They can come to Kano. They can come to wherever you are. But if you go online, the online resources are so powerful. YouTube, Udemy, just if you start and you see what those guys offer you, you can then build on that.
Absolute no limitation whatsoever when it comes to wherever you stay. Technology has done a seepage and it has bridged the gaps. I also want to add to what you have said, Mr. Lawrence Amadi, to the questioner. Please, wherever you stay, as a chartered accountant, a student of accountancy, touch base with the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. Part of what we try to do is to bring knowledge as near as possible through mentorship and through our various districts. They are waiting to help you. Mr. Lawrence Amadi, as we now move towards the end of our question and answer session, I will ask you this. What role is cloud computing playing in making continuous auditing a possibility?
Wow, excellent question. And it looks like you have gone full circle, from where we started to this point. First, I'd like to highlight for our viewers and our listeners, what is cloud computing? Cloud computing is the art or the process or the science of leveraging fiber, leveraging internet, leveraging broadband to provide value. So essentially, instead of you to have physical storage devices, in your server room, you can choose to store those things remotely, and you can access them anytime, call up those services anytime. People just go and they connect seamlessly. And examples of cloud providers, will be Main One locally, Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure. These are examples of cloud solutions that we have today. But to the question, how can we leverage cloud, better in also ensuring that continuous auditing and continuous monitoring is successful? Today, the control activities we have in organizations are changing rapidly. Changing rapidly because business models are changing. And as business models are changing, the processes that tie into those business models are also changing. And as those things keep changing, the internal auditor or the internal control professional needs to be able to keep abreast of what's happening. Now, we have spoken about robotics and how processes are getting automated. If we tie that back to continuous monitoring, continuous auditing, it then is safe to say that if you have access to monitoring things remotely, and there's so many remote procedure calls, events, or controls that you can put in place, you can monitor things remotely. As you do those monitoring, you are leveraging broadband to performing those reviews or conducting those remote monitoring. That's where we start leveraging cloud availability. Because we have seen people who, I have a friend who came all the way to Nigeria. He was on holiday, came to Nigeria during the Christmas. While in Lagos, in fact, he wasn't in Lagos, he was in Owerri in the east. While in Owerri, he could conduct a review in the Italian operation of his company. And he could also conduct a review in the Switzerland operation of his company, basically checking specific control activities on what has happened with, some processes, what's happening with user authentication, access, identification. He was checking all of those things remotely from a village in Owerri. And he was doing this check on servers that are in Europe. How was he doing it? It's cloud. This is what cloud computing does for you. Because if you leverage cloud, you can check those things You can create the reports. You can store the reports all in the cloud. Meanwhile, you've done everything on a simple tablet.
mm,
And that
mm,
tablet, you have not saved anything on it, but you have
mm,
checked access on the cloud. You've checked authentication and identification on the cloud. You have also checked, remote procedure calls on the cloud.
mm,
And you do
mm,
your report, you save it on the cloud. Your supervisor can go on the cloud and say, what has, you know, uh, Mr. Akin done and saved on the system? And
mm.
boom, they save it, download it, review the reports, and you're on the move.
Excellent. Fantastic points. You've done it well. I saw one of our online participants saying you are didactic in the way you have disseminated. May we have your last word on this subject of technology trends and impact on global accountancy?
Thank you so very much. I must say, look, it's been a pleasure being here. Thank you for having me. In terms of last words, I think I'll just leverage a bit of what Alhaji Razak has said. Everybody in the accountancy profession needs to embark on that skills journey immediately if they have not. Because the skill of the future, the skill for tomorrow is in the technology area. It's not waiting
Mm,
for us. So we
mm,
need to move as quickly as possible to
mm,
position ourselves to be ready, because when we have a very disrupted market or a very disrupted system,
mm,
it is important that we are able to key in into that future and add value. So
mm.
our relevance is very important for the future. And that's why I would encourage everybody to go on that journey of improving and building on their technology and digital skills.
Super. Thank you very much, Mr. Amadi. And I also want to thank all our online participants for your scintillating questions that came in. I also want to acknowledge clearly our participants who came with questions, who encouraged our presentation, and who clearly, irrespective of where they are residing right now, are empowered to learn more, and that knowledge, which the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, on our same charter, new chapter, of which the ICAN on Air is debuting, is there for you to help develop our country. Not only that, I like to say that every Tuesday and every Thursday, we are here with you to share additional knowledge. And so our next episode on ICAN on Air is going to be on Tuesday, February 8th, 2022. Of course, 6 p.m. West African time, and we are going to be utilizing the ICAN social media channels, just like you have done here. Make sure you tell somebody to come and share this knowledge that our institute is giving free, free of charge for empowerment. And the topic we are going to be looking at will be Nigeria's economic development. And we're looking at the place of professionals and diaspora remittances. Guessing with us, by special grace of God, on that day is Ibironke Adiagbo, Mrs. FCA. Mrs. Adiagbo is a philanthropist, and she is the CEO and founder of IA Foundation, a UK organization set up to socially invest in Nigeria out of school children and to ensure that they are equipped with the right skills to reduce poverty, security challenges, and of course, increase the social mobility, their social mobility in Nigeria. Now, let me leave you with these words on marble. And I quote: what new technology does is create new opportunities to do a great job that customers once done. What new technology does is to create new opportunities to do a fantastic job that customers want done, and that is attributable to Tim O'Reilly. And I say, be the change you like to see, and until we come your way again on Tuesday, February 8, 2022, I remain Akifatunke, your anchor. ICAN on air. Bye for now.